So the holidays can be a really beautiful time, and sometimes they can be a little bit stressful. So this evening, we're going to focus in our practice on really getting grounded, on finding our center, and nourishing ourselves by focusing on the element of earth. Hope this weekend's brought everybody what they need. And we'll start tonight in a child's pose. So you can bring your knees wide, toes to touch. And arms can extend out in front of you. And just begin to bring some awareness to your breath. And notice the way that you're naturally breathing. Often we breathe quite shallowly, and just in our chest. And so if you notice that that's true for you, see if you can breathe into the sides, feel the sides of your rib cage expand, as well as your back body. So your torso is expanding in all directions on the inhale, and contracting on your exhale. And take a breath in here. And then as you exhale, see if you can draw your heart down toward the ground, any amount, even just a tiny little micro movement. And settling more into this shape. And just as much as you are pressing into the earth, notice that she is pressing up into you. And there's an inherent reciprocity, harmony between you two. In preparation for the holidays, we'll really be focusing this evening on feeling grounded and centered, letting self-care, nourishment be a priority. Another few rounds of breath here. And then when you're ready, you can gently begin to rise to come into a kind of hero's pose, like I'm seated. And we're going to come into a toe squat. So you'll tuck your toes and really spread the toes out so you can feel that your pinky toe is firmly planted on the ground. And you can begin just with your hands on the ground like this. You'll feel a sensation in the bottoms of your toes, your feet, and this might be enough. If you want to increase intensity, you can walk your hands back. Maybe eventually they come to rest on top of your thighs. We'll be here for about a minute. And really let your breath help guide you through this experience. In this shape, not only are we targeting our feet, but we're actually targeting a whole line of fascia, connective tissue that begins at the bottoms of our feet and travels all the way up the back sides of our body. And then in addition, we're targeting our spleen and our stomach meridians that begin in our toes and travel up the front side of the body. So this is really serving your body as a whole. 2 more breaths here. Notice if your breath becomes belabored at all. Steady it. And then gently come forward, release your toes, untucking them. And sometimes it's nice to just gently tap the tops of your feet on the ground. Beautiful. And then from here, we'll come into a counter pose, an ankle stretch. So tops of your feet on the ground, and then from here you'll begin to lift your knees up toward the ceiling, and you can walk your hands back. And again, you control the intensity of this, so the further back you bring your hands, the more intense it will be. The higher you lift your knees, the more intense it will be. Or you can lessen the intensity by lifting just a little, walking back just a little. And again, just taking note that not only here are we targeting our ankles, our feet, but really we're targeting an entire energetic channel, meridian, that goes up the front side of the body. About another 20 seconds here. Notice your breath. And then gently begin to come out. And if you wanted to swing your legs out in front of you, lots of different options. You could windshield wiper your legs from side to side. You could just come into a seated forward fold, extend your legs long, whatever feels best in your body. And then from here, we're going to come into half saddle. So what this looks like is you'll bring your right shin to the ground, knee is bent, and you might start with the sole of your left foot on the ground, and then you'll walk back. If you feel anything in your knees, any kind of wonky, like a sharp or shooting pain, then you can just stay upright, and this might be enough. But if you feel okay, then you can walk back. You might just stay here on your elbows. If it feels comfortable, you can come all the way onto your back. Maybe your arms reach overhead. So you choose lots of options for how intense you make this. If you feel totally cool in this shape and you want to extend your left leg long like Helen has hers, then you can do that as well. So really finding your edge and honoring where that is. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, settling a little more. Tracking any sensation that you feel in your body. Our stomach meridian, for our purposes, really begins below the eye, but in our practice, the trajectory of it will be down our chest, down our legs, and ending the top of the second toe. And our stomach is responsible, of course, for really digesting our food, helping us to assimilate nutrients. But energetically, it's also very much about being able to digest and assimilate our life experiences as well. And when we're ungrounded, when we're off center, it's very difficult to integrate that which we're moving through. And so by bringing balance, clearing any blockages in our stomach meridian and our spleen meridian as well, we enhance our ability to integrate all that we're moving through, and thus feel more grounded, more present, more centered. Maintaining a quality of presence through your transition. You can come back up, or if you just want to untuck your leg, you can do that as well. Maybe hug knees into chest, maybe come into seated forward folds, whatever shape feels best. And then when you're ready, finding your way to the other side. You choose the intensity. And it might be different on this side, and that's totally cool. As you settle into this shape, notice if there's anywhere that you're holding tension. Our muscles contract to protect our joints, so you might notice like your quad is contracted to protect the knee joint, right? But when we're in our yin poses, we're actually trying to get into our joints and into connective tissue that requires that we be muscularly soft. So softening where possible. And then sending breath where you notice you were holding tension. Notice where your mind is. And then mindfully, or bodyfully, can begin to rise out. Take whatever shape you need in this rebound space. And then seeing if you can keep your eyes closed through this transition. You can find your way to downward facing dog. And if you don't want to keep your eyes closed, that's totally cool. The only reason I even offer that is that our eyes are a very primary sensory organ. And so when they're open, sometimes we miss the interoceptive information, the information that we get about our bodies from the inside. We can miss that information if our eyes are open. So just an option. And in downward facing dog, maybe there's some gentle movement that you feel called to take, pedaling out legs or heels to one side or the other. And then from here we're going to come into dragon, so you'll step your right foot forward to the outside edge of your mat. And you can drop your left knee to the ground. Hands begin on your mat, and this might be enough to stay. Another option would be to come onto your forearms, lowering down. So it's your choice where you take this, and sometimes you'll notice that the longer you're in this shape, your body eventually invites you a little deeper. So you might start with hands on the ground, and then in time you might lower or not. And breathing with awareness. And then just notice what's coming up for you. And know that whatever is coming up to be assimilated, to be digested. It's coming up to be felt, to be moved through your body. So allowing whatever is arising to be here from a place of really radical self-compassion. And then you can stay here, or for this last about 30 seconds, another option is to gently press your hand to the inside of your right leg, come onto the outer edge of that foot. And if you feel really ready to come out, you're welcome to do that too. You can come out. I always love going into a half splits and straightening my front leg. Maybe there's another shape you want to take instead. And then when you're ready, beginning to shift out and take what you need. And then from here we'll come to the other side. So you can step back to a downward facing dog. And then left foot comes forward when you're ready. Yeah, and then beginning with hands on the ground and just noticing how that feels first. And then as your body allows, maybe lowering down more. Notice your breath. Whether it feels steady or a little belabored. Maybe you practice elongating your inhales and your exhales. Notice if there's anywhere that you're holding tension, particularly in your hips, where it's possible to soften. And then for this last little bit, you might stay or you might gently press on the inside of your left leg. And then whenever you feel ready, gently coming out, taking whatever shape you need, movement or stillness, maybe a half splits, maybe something else. And then eventually we'll meet back in a downward facing dog. And from here we'll come into pigeon, or in yin we call it swan. So you'll draw your right shin through. If this doesn't feel right on your knees, you can do this laying down, a supine figure 4, like this. Same effect in your hips, but just less pressure on your joints. Or in full swan. Just drawing your left hip point down toward the ground to square your hips. And then again, just as with dragon, you might just begin here, and then slowly, as you feel ready, lower all the way down. Surrendering to the earth underneath you. Nothing to do here. And just giving yourself permission to be. Check in with your body and notice if there's anywhere that you're contracting muscle where it's possible to soften. And then in your own time, gently rising. Maybe you come back to a downward facing dog or a 3-legged dog. Maybe you swing legs in front of you for a seated forward fold. Your choice where you go. And then switching to the other side when that feels complete. Noticing what's coming up for you. Remembering that whatever is coming up, we ultimately feel it to free it. And gently rising. And coming out of this shape to take whatever you need. Whether that's a down dog, forward fold, maybe knees hug into chest. Eventually we'll meet on our backs. You can begin with the soles of the feet on the ground. Just take a moment here. Maybe one hand comes to your heart, one hand comes to your stomach. Just feeling the earth underneath you. Noticing the way that you're breathing. And then we're going to come into a shape called cat pulling its tail. So you'll essentially thread your right foot underneath your bent left knee and grab your foot with your left hand. And then from here, cross your left foot over. The intention of this shape is to feel a stretch, a sensation along your right quad. So if you're feeling that, then you're great as you are. If not, then you might pull your right heel toward your glute a little bit more to deepen sensation. You can take a breath in here. And then as you exhale, settling into the shape. Spleen meridians begin at the tops of our big toes and travel up along the front body. And for our purposes, and kind of just right above the armpit. And our spleen is really responsible for filtering our blood. So again, helping to, like the stomach, its paired organ, really just assimilate nutrients, making sure that we're receiving what we need and letting go of what we don't. And remembering that in these shapes, there's not even necessarily anything you have to do, right? Just by virtue of being here, you're increasing the vitality of these organs. You can gently release your foot, and you might find stillness and just notice any sensation that you feel in the leg that was just threaded, or you might incorporate some kind of a movement, hug knees into chest. Your choice where you go. And then when you're ready, switching sides. In traditional Chinese medicine, they believe that when ultimately the life force of our spleen and stomach organs are functioning optimally, that there's an inherent sense of trust that we have. And when there's imbalance in these organs, we're more prone to worry. By targeting these meridians, we're cultivating a deeper sense of trust in the ground underneath us, in our world, both external and internal. And gently releasing your foot, taking whatever you need in this rebound space. And then eventually we'll meet in Shavasana. And taking a deep breath in, and then open mouth exhale. Twice more, just like that. Shavasana. And for meditation, you can stay as you are or come to a seat, whatever feels best. I'll give you a moment to adjust if needed. And actually, if you are laying down and you can bring the soles of your feet to the ground a little wider than hips and let your knees fall in toward one another, this feels often more supportive for our low back. And then one hand can rest on your chest, and one hand can rest on your stomach. Or both hands can rest on your stomach with them just stacked on top of one another. And we're going to do a meditation practice called Earth Descent. So first, bringing awareness to your body. Noticing all points of contact between your body and earth, solid ground underneath you. See if you can soften your jaw and the space between your eyebrows. Even imagining softening your temples, softening your skin, softening all four corners of your eyes. And then taking a breath in. As you exhale, allow your awareness to drop down into the ground. So you're opening your awareness down into the earth. At first, it maybe just goes a few inches. As you continue to breathe and exhale, awareness continues to drop a little further. 5 feet. 10 feet. 15 feet. 20 feet. And just continues to drop down deeper into the earth as you rest here. Passing through any layers of material built underneath you, through dirt, through mud. Maybe you notice roots. And as you continue to descend, you might begin to attune to Earth's qualities. The deeper you go, there's a vastness that you attune to. There's a stillness below the surface of things. There's a quiet, a steadiness. And the more you attune to these qualities, you might begin to notice that these qualities also exist in you. There is a vastness in you. There is a stillness in you. And there is a quiet, steady center that is always present underneath the surface of things. Beginning to deepen your breath. Notice the way your body shifts, moves to accommodate space for your breath. Making any gentle movements. And touching your thumbs to your ring fingers. And fire meets earth. And then if you're laying down, you can gently roll to whichever side you feel drawn to. And pausing in a pose of rebirth. Potent reminder that every moment is an opportunity to begin anew with fresh perspective, a renewed commitment to our intentions. And then we'll meet in a seat with eyes closed or open with a soft gaze and hands at heart center. And lifting your heart into your hands. Just taking a moment to take note of the energy that you've created for yourself in your practice this evening. And then bringing thumbs to third eye center. And the divine light in me bows and honors the divine light in each of you. Thanks for being with me this evening. Have a wonderful week, everyone. See you next time.